Something that I'm thinking about when it comes to playing a role in the content ecosystem. If we look back to the earlier ages of the internet, kind of the go-to, just based on technology at the time, was to be writing online, to do a blog, things like that. I recently went to one of the book tour events of Ramit Sethi, so this is probably partially why I'm thinking about blogs and kind of the way the internet grew and how technology has changed over time to allow more interactive, dynamic type content to take hold. But it got me thinking, and especially being at an event like this where Ramit, the first half of his probably 15 or so years running his blog and things like that, the first half he was very much focused on the technicals of like how to automate your investing so you're not thinking about it and things like that. But he mentioned in his talk in promoting the journal for his famous book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich, he talked about in around 2016 or so, he became incredibly interested in the psychology around money and why people make certain decisions around what they choose to spend money on and what they choose to not spend money on and things of that nature. So part of what I'm thinking about is when Ramit went around the room and asked people, I'm assuming he does this in a lot of his events, but part of his thesis is asking like, what is your rich life? And to have a detail of that rich life. And when you go around the room, people have very clear images of what their rich life is. And what was really cool about it is that, as was proven with the people at the event, you can have a clear image of what your rich life looks like. And when you ask big questions like that, and Ramit would put this in the phrase of asking the $30,000 questions as opposed to the $3 questions, you're able to have that image that's clear, but you're also not worried about how you're going to get there, the details of how to get there, which rationally is a genuine thought to have, or a genuine concern even to have. It, okay, yeah, this image is super cool of my rich life, but how am I gonna get there? Not one person, when they were prompted to have a detail of their rich life, none of them mentioned how they were concerned about how they were gonna get there. So it kind of shows that the way you think, and if you force yourself to think bigger, but also, it's funny, when you're thinking bigger, it's almost simpler too, because there's less details, there's less overabundance of details that ends up being overwhelming. That's what I see. And how I get there, not sure yet. And when people went around the room, it was reflected on after of how a lot of people had the clear image but were not concerned about how to get there when they were asked in this way. Because if you're not asked that big question, it's easy to be like, oh, well, how much do I have to save? What job do I have to get? What's my income have to be? What do I have to cut spending on? What do I have to spend more on? And things like that. Very simple to say, what's an image or what's a detail of your rich life? It's something I'm thinking about. It's a bit fresh because in going to the book tour event recently, and I hope for you that you have this experience as well, is that when you are doing a video where you're thinking about or you're talking through something, what you'll find is you go in with a certain intention of, I believe it's pretty often, you go in within a certain intention of like, oh, I'm probably gonna talk about X, Y, and Z, but because you allow yourself the freedom, the creative freedom, the emotional freedom to talk through what you're curious about, interested in, reflecting on, it gets you excited for the next piece of content you're gonna do. Because by doing this video, I thought of what else I'm interested in talking about, or at least talking through or thinking about. So it's kind of this self-motivating process to not strictly think about what you want to say on content, but to actually talk through it, because it's something I've been playing around with as a phrase that I believe resonates, is when there's thinking and talking is actually, from a content perspective, is way closer to action than thinking, which is a bit counterintuitive, a bit contrarian, because we all know that, the phrase all bark, no bite, right? Like if someone's talking, but they're not doing, it's kind of perceived as not a good thing or not a positive thing. But with content, if you're strictly thinking, you're not talking, but you're thinking, it's hard to create any content, right? Because at a certain point, you have to begin talking. You can talk through it. That could be a video. That could be an audio experience, podcast, an audio learning experience. It could be writing as well. But something I'm really, really interested in, I've talked about this earlier. I don't think I talked about it in this video, but I'm really interested in how to contextualize an entrepreneur, a business owner, a business operator, finding a voice of theirs that empowers them to continue doing content. Because a lot of people, when they start with content, they start with kind of the opposite of who's my ideal avatar, who's my ideal client, ideal customer, ideal audience, and trying to just speak exactly to what they want or what you believe they want to hear. What I'm thinking about is it's almost like there's a step that's been skipped of, well, if you're not empowered about what you're talking about firsthand, if you're not the first person to be empowered, it's gonna be really hard to find a motivating, a driving force to even have the hope of empowering other people or educating or inspiring or teaching. I think I'm gonna leave this video at that. And if you're listening to this, I'll leave this episode at that. I'm excited about what's to come with this process. Wrap this one up for now, and I'll be talking with you in the next one.